The current weapon pool in this game is fantastic, and while comp is pretty strict on what is and isn't viable, casual and anarchy lets you get away with a lot. I currently use a plethora of top tier picks just because they're what I enjoy using, and some play very similarly to what I primarily main, which is roller, but recently I've been using more of these and less of this. Now why is that? For a brief history of this weapon, roller was utterly busted in the original Splatoon until they quickly nerfed it and made it pretty fair, and it's been almost the exact same ever since. Direct hits result in an instant kill, with anything outside its one hit range doing less and less damage, and anything not in the arrows, which act as roller's reticle, will never kill in one shot, assuming the enemy has no ink on them. Rollers also have the function of rolling around like this to cover turf, but it's only used in top level play on very rare occasions. Now let's take a look at the Octobrush. Brushes were not considered their own class until Splatoon 3, so while they play differently, they share many of the same features rollers do, such as rolling and the reticle. But one significant difference between the Octobrush and the Splat Roller is that when you miss a direct hit with the Octobrush outside of the reticle, it still kills just as fast. With this thing, you can kill people from the most obscure angles because you literally do not need to aim. If an enemy is in your general direction and you're close to them, you can hit them like this, or this, or this, and it'll be just as fast. With roller, however, it's a different story, because you actually have to aim to kill. Here's where its major flaws start shining. You are dead if you miss a direct shot against basically any weapon. When you miss a direct shot, the enemy is notified of your location. Whether you missed entirely or they got hit but didn't die, they will see you. It gives them enough time to aim, take their shot at killing you, and either successfully killing you or trading, which neither option is optimal. You don't have to worry about that with Octobrush though. Any angle in front of it is basically a death sentence. And yeah, Octobrush is slow, but it has insane damage for its range and a very unstrict hit radius. I didn't even know it had the potential to do a 4-shot kill at long range because I've never been 4-shot by this thing, although that could be summed up because of this game's shitty netcode. So not only is this a hard-hitting 3-shot most of the time, it's pretty fast at killing, can be a challenge to react to, the garbage netcode helps it, and the user isn't punished for having terrible aim. Now, roller is a hard-hitting weapon with a very strict instant kill window, and if you miss a direct but still hit someone, it's too slow to kill after because non-directs are incredibly weak. And the netcode makes things worse because directs are extremely finicky with this thing. So I don't really understand why roller got hit as hard as it did 8 years ago, but Octobrush just kinda got off scot-free. And I'm certainly not asking for rollers to get their instant kill anywhere mechanic back because that would be incredibly unbalanced and unfair. Instead, I'm asking for Octobrush to have that same mechanic so that brush players actually have to aim. It doesn't make much sense to me that the devs haven't done anything about it yet. Now, Splatoon 3 introduced 2 new weapon classes, one of them being Splatanas. These are the melee weapon that brushes wish they were. They have a one-shot up-close kill with a shorter ranged attack that is relatively weak unless you're up close with someone, and a longer ranged attack that is stronger than the base attack and even stronger up close. Wait a second, that just kind of sounds like roller. Splatanas play very similar to roller, except it has better paint, more consistent paint, insane strafe speed, much longer range, and it's lightweight. It just does everything roller does, but better, and many of these same points apply to the Stamper as well. And comparing the kill time of these weapons from the same distance, it's no wonder why rollers struggle so much. And wait, same with the Slosher. This thing is 70 damage from afar, but roller's 40? Even the sloshing machine punishes players for not getting a direct hit by only doing 38 damage. But hold on. Roller isn't meant to be played all aggressively and out in the open. You gotta sneak your way in. Know how to flank properly, utilize squid roll, substrafing, mix up your moves with the curling bomb, and have good bubbler placement, but I mean, I already have that. I've been playing this thing for almost 8 years, so what's the problem? Well, not only is it that other weapons simply outclass it, but it's this game's shitty maps. See, I know I discussed how other weapons are better than Roller, and you may be confused because while Splatona's and brushes are similar to the Roller, each weapon is still distinct enough to stand out on its own. And in all reality, Roller is supposed to be pretty different from these, but how can I flank, how can I get close, when these are our maps? There are no flank routes, no ways for me to get in around any weapon, short or long ranged, and no way to get close. Roller thrives on close range combat. This thing is more melee than Splatana's, but at least they can fend for themselves at long range. Because the maps are absolute dog shit, I can't do any of that. And when maps are bad, it leads to me having to rely on my teammates to keep map control, because Roller has terrible ink output. And when my teammates don't keep map control, I have to attempt to get close to the enemy, which is incredibly difficult with a slow killing, slow painting, and very obvious weapon, which results in me trading or dying. And not only that, but this game's matchmaking is fucking garbage. So we have awful maps that lock players into mid, a meta with long ranged and or high DPS weapons, a really shitty matchmaking system, and other weapons that outperform Roller due to said meta, all against a slow DPS, slow killing, inconsistent weapon that relies on larger maps and teammates who can actually play the game well. Look man, I mean I love you, but you fucking suck right now, and there is no sugarcoating that. Experimenting with other weapons in solo queue and with my team has made me realize how limiting this thing is, and the only thing to blame is the fact that 3 is entirely different than 2, yet it still plays the exact same as in 2. I've said this a bunch, and that's why I'm not too fond of the Dynamo. It went unchanged, and when jumping from 2 to 3, it goes from being a solid backline or midline to a steaming pile of garbage. This is nothing like this, and luckily the devs have begun to realize this and have given certain weapons buffs like Dynamo because they realize that these games are different. Roller hasn't been one of these yet, but how should it be fixed? I think the best course of action is to tweak its ink and damage. Both flicks need more consistent inkage, because this does not cut it. Before Splatana was buffed to be like this, it wasn't considered top tier yet. It struggled to get in without a charge slash, which was slower and left you more vulnerable. The same problem is what Roller has right now. There isn't enough ink to let you move around, leaving you completely vulnerable. So let's increase the amount of ink that comes out and make it much more consistent. That way you can ink, fight, and move around better. It also needs to paint your feet. If I miss a shot but the enemy is low, being able to move around in the ink I laid down to finish the job possibly is something Roller desperately needs to do but can't do right now. When I do this with Octobrush, it's one of the most satisfying things ever. The vertical flick will also be getting a change, with it becoming a bit wider than it is now, becoming faster, but decreasing its overall range by half a tile. While it inks 4 tiles right now, it doesn't start hitting until you're 3.5 tiles close, so I'm decreasing the range to only 3.5 tiles, and it'll actually hit there as well. And while I debated on increasing damage, I ultimately decided that it was best to increase it to do a minimum of 50 damage while vertical flicking. I don't understand why other weapons kill so much faster than this thing at the same range. I think keeping it weaker than said weapons, but still making it a 2-shot minimum is better than the slog of a 3-shot it is now. As well as that, it'll be getting slightly increased strafing speed while flicking vertically. This makes it able to take fights from afar much better than it can right now, because the main problems it has are that it can't ink well and how predictable it is. Giving it better painting capabilities and making its long-ranged attack faster and more viable will allow it to take fights head-on much better than it can now. Because something I never really realized until last year was how Roller is against like half of these weapons. Flash Blaster is terrible, but I always disliked it because I struggled against it with Roller. As soon as I switched to a different weapon though, it became overwhelmingly easy to deal with. If Roller struggles against Clash Blaster, that's just sad. I enjoy the playstyle Roller offers, where you need to play it more stealthy than other weapons, but I mean that's all it offers. Aggressive Rollers are tough to make viable because it's just too slow in such a fast-paced game. Right now, Roller is in the dead center of the tier list. What holds it back are small linear maps, weak long-ranged options, poor paint, slow long-ranged kill time, and having to rely on your teammates to keep control of the map. The changes I gave it were to not only help its current playstyle, but also give it a few different options of playstyle that most other weapons have and try to make it better than how mid it is right now. Rollers can be played as a top tier weapon when in the right hands with the right maps and teammates, but with the wrong maps and teammates, which happens frequently, it is low tier garbage, again making it meet in the middle to be the most mid weapon this game offers right now.